Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Mochi Veda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanantam Satguru Pranatoshimaham Om Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste. Welcome to our Q&A. So we may begin. I don't think I got any emails, and now I remember that I was going to look. I want to look again into what Lynn brought last time, right, Lynn? Let me see, Lynn. Because I looked into the verse, and I mean, my life lately has been so chaotic with all the construction I'm doing there. I want to share that passage in the chat today, as David has suggested, but I will do a very brief, further clarification in regards to that, the time issue. Yeah? Let me look for Lynn's email. Oh, I removed the internet here.
Which verse was it, Lynn?
Well, I mean, last Q&A.
It was 497.
Yeah.
497, okay, thanks.
Okay. And so the verse is 497. Did you happen to share anything with the group about that, Lynn? No, no.
No, I sent a link to the download to David and you, but I didn't. No one else.
Okay. So at least Dave has it. And this is the Viveka Shuddhamani, the complete text that goes over 500 different verses. And in the verse 497, there is an exposition of Swami Paramarthananda, saying that there is a principle called Kala, which is the principle that brings about change in everything in Mithya, and this is synonymous of time. So only when I could see within the context of the previous verse and the following verse is a discussion about time. That's why Lynn brought that verse, okay? Because this principle that changes everything is what calls the notion of time from the perspective of the human jiva. So we see everything changing, and that is the most important signal or principle producing this sense of time. You understand? And then in this verse 497, he says that in truth there are no time, there is no divisions, there is no time. So that change in principle is called, there is no division, it's subjective. It's subjective because it appears to be time. It appears to be changing from the perspective of the jiva, you know? So that which is real. So we have these three orders of reality, and we have the imaginary one that the jiva perceives upon the empirical one, which is the pratibhasika, the projection of Maya Ishvara. And the only true reality is paramartika, which is consciousness existence in its limitless nature. And then it goes about describing a little bit the commentaries of Faust in the verse 92 that the empirical reality, the Vyavaharika Satya projection of Maheshwara, it growthfies to become physical, the physical material universe. And it is subject to this principle called kala, or color. And it keeps changing, but we perceive the change in the world slower. So we have this perception that things moves much slower in this empirical order of reality, the physical material universe, as opposite to the imaginary reality, the ones of thoughts, feelings, and emotions and superimpositions, you know. So such as the dreaming state and the walking dreaming state, which is the jiva, thinking, imagining, projecting, anticipating, and so on. These are all part of this pratibhasika, which is the reality experienced by the jiva. So this reality, this mental reality, it can change anytime. I can have a thought that takes me to the moon, and then I have another thought that takes me to the USA, and then I will going to feel this and feel that. I read the news from here, and then I will be there. So this imaginary order, it feels like very, very short periods of times. You know, we see that things change because the thought change in contacts again and again, new thought / object, and everything keeps changing in the imaginary order of reality as well. So, yeah. So, and the Vyavaharika time is just commonly held paramartika. So the Vyavaharika is nothing but the paramartika, okay? But it appears to be physical, material, and real, and in truth, it's not real. This is all always subjective. You know, it's all due to this jiva, the human jiva, perceiving the creation as the agent which was designed to perceive, experience, and know this creation. So it's everything is subjective. This the timing and this order of subjective order reality called the pratibhasika Satsang. So I think it's pretty much that. Do you have any further questions or commentaries, Alina? We could maybe explore a little bit more.
No, you explained all that, I think, last week very well to me, thanks. But I went back and I read the verse again, and he was putting it in the context of an example of how superimposition works. All those different kind of divisions and conceptual ideas that we have on time are actually just superimpositions, and the reality is not bound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When we see a wave, for example, we have superimposed a form, okay? And then we are dividing the ocean by several waves, and we pay attention to one wave, and then we have divided the ocean in parts which are just imaginary. The same way when we see all the ornaments of gold, we are separating and dividing the gold according to some shape, some name and form. And we do that in our minds because fundamentally, gold is the only reality, you know. So all of these things, you know, they are all byproducts of the mind in its ability to divide, name, and creating the notion of time, of distance between different divide, subdivide objects, and the time between two objects to reach, to accomplish, or to sync. When we sync, it goes very quick. But if we want to go from one house to another, if that takes 15 minutes, that's again time. But the whole division was projected in our minds. It's like the guy surfing in the ocean. He sees one wave here, and one wave comes, 50 miles or 50 meters or 100 meters, and then immediately he creates the notion of time between catching this wave or catching the other wave, and I'm going to calculate the move. And all of this is superimposition, as Lynn is present, We are superimposed names, forms in this case, which brings about the sense of time, but it's all superimposed. Everything is superimposed. Okay. Does anybody has any question today besides time?
I have one.
Please.
No, it's not about time, of course. It's because in the last lesson that we had was very interesting. We see a lot of interesting topics, and but there was a moment that you give us a very clear explanation about how reality works, or how reality is created, that is created with Ishvara and the action of the Jiva. And I remember when you say it, I try these days to see again all the lessons, all the 4 or 5 lessons that we do, and I don't find this moment. So I ask you again. You give us a very beautiful explanation about how reality is created with Ishvara and Jiva and the action of Jiva. So can you explain me again a little bit, talk me again about this, how it works, because I have a little understanding, but.
And it was not during our last meeting, huh? It was maybe.
The last meeting, I don't see the last meeting because I wasn't there, and I don't.
Okay, it was the previous one. I'm trying to.
Yeah, it was the previous one. We talk about a lot of the fact that the Jivan Mukti or Mukta, now I don't remember how it say. He don't have problems with the results of action. We talk a lot about karma. How karma works. Right.
Yeah, it was within the context of the karma of the realized.
The yani, yes, of the yani.
Is there karma or there is no karma? There is and there isn't. So let's say, and in which way Ishvara,
creates the reality.
In which way Ishvara delivers Jiva's karma, to each one of which is doers of action. It does deliver it regardless, even regardless of one's self-recognition, but it does deliver, especially and only, especially if the Jiva is still identified as the receiver of the results of that action. So when we do an action, we identify as the doer. In that sense, it's as if you are sending an order to Ishvara, the great, the self-conscious system, so that he says, okay, so here there is another doer, and he's still under the illusion that he did it. So we have no other option, but we have to send this folk the results of its actions, right? So we did a lot of actions in the past based on this ego sense, I did it, you understand? And then these actions are going to be addressed, delivered at our karmic address. Yeah? But if meanwhile the jiva somehow it neutralizes or cancels this sense of I did the actions, you know. So when you cancel, you remove this ego sense of I am the doer, I am the thinker, I am the author, and so on. So automatically you don't claim at the receiving end of your jiva personality. So when you receive, again, you are not going to say I am the receiver, because I broke my identification as the doer, and by breaking the identification as the doer, you break your identification as the receiver. Yeah? Then, but Ishvara, this intelligent, precise system, it's going to send the results of those actions to the one with self-recognition. Okay? The identification may be broken, but it's the delivery of those results are going to knock at his or her door, and he's going to take it. And it's going to be taken. And as I like to present that analogy or that example, if somebody commits a crime long before, and then he becomes a yoni and so on, and he becomes even a famous guru, but if 20, 30, 40 years later on comes the FBI or any cops to take the individual, arrest the individual, so he cannot say, no, I haven't done it, or so on. You know, Ishvara is going to deliver because it's an impersonal system, and Ishvara does not care what kind of change you have implemented in your knowledge about your true self, your true I. You know, it's going to send to the one who did it, but freedom is not circumstantial. Freedom is not just about, oh, now I'm going to have a wonderful circumstance in my life that I will never going to receive bad karma, bad results or bad actions that I did in past lives and in previous times before self-recognition. So Ishvara is going to deliver it. And how he does that, I don't know if I'm going where you want me to go. He does that based on the actions we bring into the system. And these actions are going to interact with a lot of other actions of all other jivas, going to interact with a lot of other karmas that we did that are hanging, are suspended as sanchita karmas. All of this karmic equation is very, very complex. You understand? It's much, much easier to understand the Einstein's equation of the theory, relativity, than to understand, which very few mathematicians really understand, than understanding the law, the karmic laws of Ishvara, because it's huge in its complexity. You understand? So you will have your actions that are going to interact with a lot of previous actions that may go to previous births, which is going to interact with a lot of actions of other folks, other jiva, which is going to interact with a lot of physical energies and laws and forces, And there are so many things that are going to interact to produce our Prarabdha karma. Okay? So this is the intelligent order, intelligent system. And once we understand the magnitude of Ishvara, you understand? And then we know that the jivas, they are part of this system, because every one of jivas, human jivas actions counts to one's Prarabdha karma. So the jiva know that I'm providing Ishvara with the actions that later on he's going to put in a blender, and then he's going to mix up these infinite numbers of factors to provide myself and everybody else with one's Prarabdha karma, my personal Prarabdha karma, my collective, my planetary, my cosmic, you understand, universal, and all of that. Okay, so the jiva is a co-creator with Ishvara in the sense that our actions, they do count in the equation, in the karmic equation that, that goes to the jiva on a personal level, in the microcosmic level, and in the macro as the universal or cosmic or planetary karma. I mean, we talk about planetary karma because we are living in difficult times. The planet has been used and abused by human jivas, you know, and we are going to have to deal with a lot of those results, you know. So all of this, jiva has its own parcel of responsibility. Therefore, our actions, they do count. So Ishvara is going to be adjusting the Prarabdha karma in all levels according to human jiva's actions, you understand? So the jivas are co-creator, and then Ishvara is going to put all of that in its karmic equation, and is going to be presenting us, yeah, the Prarabdha karma, let's say the planetary Prarabdha karma, on a day-to-day basis, based on everything that has been happening for forever on this planet, for example, you understand? So the jiva, it does count, it's very responsible, it's important that the jiva understand that him alone cannot really change the course of the Prarabdha karma, of a planetary Prarabdha karma, let's say, because the jiva is one, but we have 8 billion jivas, and we have several other factors, you know, physical laws operating and so on. So in which way Ishvara creates this universe? It creates, I mean, we can look into it from different angles. It creates it, maybe what you are trying to remind me is that it creates it from its fundamental element called space. So space, you know, is the first manifestation of the three energies in its very, very subtle level, you know. So when it's really the subtle elements which they unfold from the three gunas, so the first thing that comes into existence is this grossification, manifestation of space. And then out of space, what Shvara does? It does unfold the air. And each one of these, and then water, and then fire, and then earth, each one of these elements are going to immediately provide the energies to constitute the receiving principle, agent. We have to have a creation, and we have to have a creation in connection with the knower, the experiencer of the creation, okay? So, and then the sense organs of the all jivas, they are developed simultaneously as the elements and the configurations that go about within the elements to create these 5 basic elements: space, air, and then water, fire, and earth. So we know that the 5 sense organs develop of these 5 elements, you know, and then the mind. So this is how the creation unfolds, okay? From the very, very subtle, and then it goes grossifying. And first the energy comes, the projection, and then the receiver, the sense organ, and then the creation is completed when we have a fully developed human jiva or intelligent jiva that, due to this intelligence, becomes subject to these karmic laws. You understand? And it is the interaction of the human jiva through this intelligence that is going to be conditioning and molding the circumstance, the situation of the cosmos according to our actions. You understand? According to our actions, Ishvara is going to be shaping. The whole universe is created for the intelligent jivas, so that that consciousness can shine in the intellect of the jivas and somehow search to find these answers in respect to this most fundamental existential question, which is, so what's the meaning of all of this? You know, what is the true nature of reality? What's the true nature of this mind, and so on? So the whole creation, according to the scriptures, was created for the sake of for the agent called the jiva to develop enough intelligence so that he can understand the very, very fundamental nature of this universe as the conscious, the subject knowing principle, the knower of the creation. So the jiva is going to be helping Ishvara by adjusting its thoughts, words, and deeds, and then based on these actions, these karmas, Ishvara is going to be again and again reshaping the Prarabdha karma, so that we can grow in maturity until we come to the Vedanta, to the Upanishads, and we begin understanding that the true nature of reality is non-dual, is consciousness, and consciousness alone. And all these objects we experience, they are just projections, superimpositions on our true nature as consciousness, the subjective, conscious, non-experiencing principle called conscious awareness. You understand? Which is also consciousness, which is the same thing as existence, which is limitless, as we know. I think you are referring to that kind of exposition of the creation, developing from pure knowledge. The seed of the universe is sattva. Okay, it's pure knowledge, pure intelligence, and out of that, the other two energies, Raja and Tama, comes, and then again we have the day of Brahman unfolding. And where it comes from? It comes from the seed, from the egg. You understand? What is the seed of this egg? It's everything, all vasanas, all universal vasanas of everything that was experienced and known by all intelligent jivas in the universe. This is what's going to bring about the next universe from this. And this is sattva. This is Ishvara. Pure knowledge, pure intelligence, which contains all sanshitas of all souls of the universe. Look at that. All souls of the universe, Ishvara contains, the souls, the registration, the account of every soul, all vasanas is just there, and then you start unfolding, the souls begin reappearing so that they can start again working these vasanas, working, processing vasanas, karmas, which is conducive to spiritual maturity in due time, until we understand that this is all just a movie, a projection on the screen of consciousness, you understand? But something on those lines, Claudio?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. It was the equation that you explained me that I was searching. You explain me everything, and this is perfect now for me, so I have the complete vision. But this was a little bit confusing to me. It was the equation that you explained me that is the action of the jiva, the past of the present moment, the action of the past, and in the equation there is also the action of the action of the other jivas that are around me, for example, and also the planetary, everything. So, and then elaborates everything, and then we get what we deserve, right?
Yeah,
So
in all levels, on our personal level, on our nation level, okay, on our continent level, on our planet level, and on the cosmic level, because everything is interconnected. So it's a very, very complex
yeah.
equation, you understand? And it is precise. So we need to understand that it's a precise order, precise system that makes no mistake. And we get to understand that by observing and also following the logic presented by the Upanishads. And once we understand that this makes sense, and then we develop a trust that Ishvara knows what it is doing, you understand? Because now I have developed, I have examined the logic and I have examined my experience to a certain extent that I developed the confidence in the scriptures. And then from that point on, many things can be said by the scriptures that I cannot really put to test. You understand? But then I have already Shraddha, I have already trust in the scriptures, you know? But why? Why this is happening? Why? I say, I mean, I don't know. But guess what? I don't need to know. Because I understood that Shwara knows everything. You understand? Shwara is all knowing. So Shwara knows everything, and I understood that I don't know what they know, what Shwara knows, but I have enough understanding to trust that everything that is happening, it's happening in accordance to this perfect system, order, intelligent order. You understand? And it is what it is. Understand? So this gives great comfort in the mind of the human jiva. They understand Ishvara is the key. Otherwise, we keep, kicking and screaming like children because we don't like adversities. That's why I understand Ishvara is a key, as Ramji often says. Isn't it great to know that we don't need to know? There is one thing we
Yeah.
need to know. We need to know that our true fundamental free, limitless nature, and we need to know that there is Ishvara, and we need to somehow align our life and our actions, our thoughts with the order, this cosmic order designed by Ishvara, projected by Ishvara. So we know Ishvara, we know our fundamental nature. So what else we need to know? Ishvara knows everything. Know how to circulate our blood, how to regulate our temperature. How Ishvara knows how to grow our hair. Have you tried to grow your own hair? You are losing some hairs, Lord. Have you tried to?
Yeah, I try.
Meditation,
But
really strong effort.
like 20 years that I try.
Yeah, yeah. We don't know. We don't know. It's amazing the intelligence of Ishvara. We can relax and know that Ishvara knows everything, and he even knows what I deserve as my Parabhada karma. Understand? This really gives great comfort.
So at the end, the only thing that we have to care is following right action.
Yeah, once we understand that this is an intelligent, designed order system in which every living creature, every jiva, lives in harmony and in alignment, in harmony with these laws, you understand? And once we understand that only the intelligent jivas, in the case of in our planet, the humans, the so-called humans, only us, the intelligent creatures, have this intelligent intellect, which has a huge price tag because the moment that we can choose, we tend to choose security and pleasure over dharma. And dharma is to follow this order, this intelligent, balanced, harmonic order of the universe. This is dharma. Dharma is to act in accordance with these cosmic laws, of the Lord Ishvara. This is the right action, appropriate and in harmony with these dharmic laws. So we tend, with this human intelligence, we tend to override dharma for the sake of what? Our sense of security and our fleeting, pleasurable experience. So this is a big problem. To be a human jiva, it is quite something, you know. So why? Because we become victim of what? Our likes and dislikes. And my likes and dislikes, due to this very pervasive social ignorance, they are mostly around security and pleasure, satisfaction, entertainment, and more, and this, and yummy, and these things, you know, more security, more money, more this, more. So we are driven by those two values, two kinds of desires or human pursuits, and then our life is a mess, and we are violating this cosmic order, right and left, and then we come to the extent of almost, you know, devastating the surface of our planet, you understand? So all of that is due to this beautiful, wonderful human intelligence called, you know, the free will of the human jivas, which has the potential to provide the jiva with freedom from samsara. You know, that on the other hand has the potential to even destroy one's environment, you know. So it is this. It's a difficult position to be a human jiva and to be caught up in this samsara chakra, and we want to come back and come back and come back again until we begin converting our desire for security, accumulation of power, money, and so on, and all pleasures that come with that. We convert those desires, those vasanas, into spiritual vasanas. Vasanas for what? For following Dharma, you know, and living in harmony and respecting the environment and all other living creatures. You know, seeing Ishvara in everything and everyone. Now, we need to develop that kind of spiritual vasana, which later on is going to unfold into a vasana for self-understanding, self-knowledge, understand the true nature of the mind, true nature of the intellect, you know. So the whole field, the whole Dharma field serves the purpose of us growing until we develop spiritual Dharmic vasanas, which later on are going to give birth to a vasana for self-knowledge and liberation from samsara, you know. It is a trap, man. The whole thing is a big trap. And then in the end, you want to understand the whole system so that you can get out of this trap. Because the vasanas, you know, they are natural part, this ignorance-based vasanas, they are the very fabric of the manifestation, you understand? Reality is duality, consciousness appearing, shining in the subtle body of the jiva, human jiva, and immediately the jiva defines itself as the body. Immediately the jiva feels limited and insecure, and he starts chasing other objects as a means to resolve this problem of insecurity and limitation. So it's very difficult to see through this mechanism, you know, and to understand that all of this is a trap, literally a trap, you know, produced by Maya. It's called samsara.
And there's a way out. Yeah.
Huh?
And there's a way out.
There is a way out. Yeah.
There's a way out of the trap. So, I mean, if you leave it here, it feels very negative. And, but I think there's optimistic. There's a way out of the trap. And
There is a way out of the trap.
Yeah, the Vedanta is the means. And I think this comes back full circle to karma yoga.
Yeah. The good news, as David is saying, is that it is a trap. Samsara is presented as a trap. What's the trap? We come here with a load of vasanas. The vasanas are going to somehow condition our mind in due time after a certain age, and then we're going to be moved by whatsoever vasanas were there and the other tendencies that we pick up in our childhood, and then we begin acting upon those vasanas, and it's going to produce certain kinds of desires that are going to produce thoughts and deeds. And these thoughts and deeds are going to produce more vasanas, and the vasanas that we produce in this self-reinforcing mechanism, usually it reinforces the original vasanas, or it slightly modifies the previous vasanas, because we change vasanas. Well, the other day I was talking to someone from my Brazilian group, and then somebody say, you want to finish the satsang earlier today because you have a soccer game to watch. And then I told, no, I'm no longer watching soccer games. You know, you say, what? You are not soccer? You are lying. I say, no. I lost this vasana. And they say, lost a vasana, but then what? I say, no, I changed that vasana into a different vasana. You see? So I have a different vasana now. So the vasana for soccer began fading a little bit, fading, and I developed other sort of vasana. So our thoughts, our desires, thoughts and words and actions are going to slightly modify, changing the previous vasanas, but this system is vasana in operation. We are a biological computers created by God, and moved or governed by vasanas, vasanas, and then tendencies, desires, and then thoughts, and then words and actions, which is going to slightly change, reform our previous vasanas, convert certain vasanas, materialistic vasanas into spiritual vasanas, adamic vasanas into dharmic vasanas, but we are just a machinery, organic machinery produced, created by God, moved by vasanas. So these vasanas, we need to use our intelligence, our proper discrimination, until we see the value in following Dharma, of harmonize. We come with this spiritual vasana, and then when you see, you are much more sensitive to other creatures. I remember I was born in Brazil, a very poor country, with so much social injustice, and somehow I was an outfit there. I had to leave that place because there was so much corruption, so much violence, and so much injustice. And it used to hurt me to see those pile of street children sleeping under any cover downtown Rio de Janeiro while I was going to my office to work. You understand? And sometimes piled up like 20 of them because it was winter. Those days there was still a sort of winter in Rio. So some people, they are sensitive. They just feel like there is something wrong. What these people, they are killing children because they are not good for business downtown. Some people say, no, there's something wrong. I'm going to walk away from this materialistic society. That's what happened to me. I just say, no, there is something wrong with life as it is, and I move. I'm going to do something different. But this, we are born already with this sensibility. We are born already with this tendency, with this vasana. This is a process of refinement, of purification, development, elevation. You say, no, why so much injustice, so much, violence? There's nothing, I cannot live in a place like that. I want to find a way to live in harmony with life and harmony with other people. This is the vasana for following Dharma, to find justice, to live in harmony. And that is already a sort of a spiritual vasana. So I'm saying that because we have our free will, and this free will is going to shape gradually this kind of spiritual vasanas that are going to fructify in spiritual birth. And then when we see, we come to the stage where we find ourselves today, you know, in contact with the scriptures of the Upanishads, of Vedanta, which is the final stage in our spiritual development, you know, and a way out of this vasana, desire, thoughts, words, actions, that is a self-reinforcing mechanism that enslaves or traps, you know, we are trapped, we are samsara chakra, you know, it's very, the scripture says it's difficult to come out of the wheel of samsara, that we can see it from the standpoint of life, death, and reincarnation, or we can see it from the standpoint of the jiva, the micro angle. We can see as vasanas, desires, thoughts, words, and deeds, which is going to very often reinforce previous vasanas until we begin connecting the dots and we begin reshaping or reprogramming our causal body, our body of vasanas, of our sanchita karma, you know. It's an incredible system. It's beautifully designed. And as David said, is the good news is that there is a way out, and it's only possible by understanding our satya nature, our free nature, our consciousness nature, existence consciousness, that which is not subject to action and its results, that which has no desire, does not think, does not wish or want anything, you know. So that's the only way out of samsara. But to follow a religious, spiritual, religious, dharmic life is already a great recipe that in due time is going to lead us to self-knowledge, you know, and the way out of samsara. Right, David?
Yes, it's yes and I did send you a question yesterday, but so this is kind of like the same question, but now modified to fit this discussion. And I'm thinking, like, is a relationship, is a relationship with another jiva, is that really based, is that a vasana? Is that a vasana that's based on scarcity and pleasure? And as such, then is the idea then to let go of that relationship with another person and leave it more to dharma and less to vasanas, meaning that you're trying to, you're worried about scarcity, being alone, you're worried about, you know, a desire or pleasure. So do you leave relationship with another jiva to dharma?
I understand you asking if the desire to have a relationship with another jiva could be an obstacle or an impediment or a complication in our process of spiritual elevation. Is that what you are trying to say? Yeah.
Well, I just think it's based upon intent. So I mean, if the relationship is, if your desire for the relationship is because of scarcity or desire for pleasure, then that's different than relationship for based on dharma.
Yeah. Okay. Now I understood the distinction. Yeah. I did not understand very well what you mean by if I have a desire for a relationship with another person, if this is based on scarcity, what do you mean scarcity there?
Scarcity would be, to me, would be like the fear of being alone.
Ah, okay.
So you're afraid to be by yourself, and that you need companionship, and you need. So scarcity is that you're going to be left with nothing, no connection or something. And
Okay.
that's what I mean.
Yeah, we live in a world where connections, they are abundant, but only virtually, right? If you want to have physical connection, it's very rare. And a lot of the time we wish to have a real physical connection with other folks, you know. So I understand. I mean, there is nothing wrong about desiring a relationship. We should know that no relationship is going to fulfill us, of course, but the relationship may be important and to serve certain purpose, you know. The first thing we need to look into, if there is a desire for a relationship, you can try to discriminate using, you know, under the light of the teachings, you can discriminate and see what I really want when I want another person in close, intimate proximity. What I do really want, you know? And then you begin looking, and you know, and then you apply the teachings, you know, under the light of the teachings, you see, you discriminate, and then what may happen is that the desire is fades away, or it remains minimized, so that it's more easily manageable. Okay, because you have to, when you start really looking to all of that, you have to know and look and see that everything there is, for everything there is, applies in the mind. So you say, oh, I'm going to gain this and this and this with a relationship, and I'm going to lose and lose, and I'm going to gain a lot of pleasure and security and intimacy and coziness, but I'm going to get some disagreements, conflicts, insecurity, you know, possession, and so. So you need to look at the upsides and downsides, and then you can go further and analyze that. Why I want it? Oh, I want it because, you know, I feel like something is really lacking in my life, and I feel lonely, you know, and I feel alone, and you know, and I feel I'm suffering. I'm not happy. And then when you come to that point, I say, oh, because I'm not happy, and then comes the big red flag. Because if we want a relationship because we are not happy, chances are that this relationship is going to bring more trouble than through learning, through lessons to be learned. You understand? It's not going to provide, because I'm trying to resolve this dissatisfaction, this sense of insecurity, this sense of unhappiness with the other. And when we do that from that angle, we are only going to find someone on the same level who is looking for happiness in the other, coming from the same angle of lack, insecurity, and the need of someone to solve my problem of unhappiness. So you can really process using the logic of the teachings, which can come to this kind of psychological level as well, to understand that you know, that this desire, it may be better to discriminate and manage it without, you know, diving into it totally. Okay. But when it's this desire, David, is a strong desire, you know, it's strong, it's powerful, it's really there, and we have no other option. We better engage the desire and go through it, learning whatsoever lessons we may learn. You understand? I mean, there is nothing wrong about having a relationship, but the distinction is, as you said, if I want to have a relationship so that I can resolve my problem of lack and unhappiness and dissatisfaction by the other, by getting something from the other, or if I'm looking for a relationship, you know, because I'm more peaceful, more happy, and more satisfied, and I want to have a companion with whom I can live a dharmic life, you know, sharing similar spiritual values. When I met Papaji after a decade in association with Osho Rajneesh, which was totally against family life and marriage, and then I met Papaji, and Papaji was pro, you know, marriage life, and he was encouraging. I got inspired by him, saying that this marriage should not be based on the desire for pleasure, but should be based on this desire for spiritual growth and self-knowledge. And then he used to say that the most beautiful relationship is the relationship of two souls supporting one another in this search for self-knowledge and moksha. And it's a very beautiful vision, you know. So if you find someone, and if your desire for a relationship, as you have presented, as you have said in your words, is more like a dharmic thing, you know, it means I want to have a relationship that's going to provide me with companionship, with intimacy, with friendship, with affection, with love, but most importantly, I want someone who wants to live a dharmic, spiritual life, which is conducive to self-knowledge and liberation. And then there is nothing wrong. The problem is that the more we grow, more difficult is to find grown-up people, because the mature people, there is, you talked about scarcity. You know, there is a scarcity of spiritual, developed, mature people, you know. So the more we grow, the more difficult it is to find highly evolved people, you know, someone on our level that wants to somehow to join force with us in this path into self-knowledge, you know.
Yeah, I'm just, or you find someone and they're already in a relationship. So
Say it again.
or you find people and they're already in a relationship, so they have to also be available. So
Yes, they are already in a relationship, or they are too materialistic, you know, or whatever, you know.
when you find my email, you can just disregard. Yep.
Say it again. When I read.
When you see the email from me, you can disregard, because we covered everything. Yeah.
Understood. The desire for a loving relationship is it's a big one, you know, because most of us have some wounds of not feeling properly loved in our childhood and appreciated and validated. There are often, in most cases, wounds there that somehow is demanding of love, and usually we want to be respected, validated, appreciated above anything else, you know. And we look for it in an intimate relationship, you know. So it is a strong desire to be loved, respected, appreciated, you know. And it's the more we have these wounds, you know, the more this desire is going to surface.
Or another way of looking at it too, or you had a lot of love and appreciation growing up and support, and now as you move into adulthood, you've moved away from your parents or your siblings, and so you're looking to replace that, because it's something that you had and no longer, you know, it's something that you want to keep and maintain.
Right. Yep. What do you think about this talk of love, Carrie?
Well, I also see different types of relationships supporting, how do I want to say it? Learning your weaknesses and how to grow from that. I know I'm not saying exactly what I mean, but showing you your areas where you need to grow.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I mean. Patience, tolerance.
Absolutely.
Yeah, not knowing all the answers. Yeah, those things.
Yeah. There is a book of Dayananda that somebody showed me the other day that says that a relationship is one of the highest spiritual tests for anyone, you know, for the yoni and for the ones, because it's going to be challenging us and testing us again and again, you know. And so one may feel like, no, I'm going to become a sannyas and be done with all sorts of relationships, because it's kind of a mirror, you know. You again and again is going to be showing some aspect of our psychology, you know, that could use some more work or purification. Huh? So it's interesting that Ananda says that it is the greatest spiritual test there is to live a life as a household. It was in the context of householders, which are really concerned that, I mean, I cannot really have moksha and self-knowledge firm because, you know, I mean, my wife is just pressing my buttons again and again and so on. And then he was saying, I mean, this is the highest spiritual test one can have, you know. And it's better we see from this angle as a spiritual test, which is the angle you are presenting, Karen. So we may have an appreciation for this relationship in spite of the discomfort. From this angle, you know, that is an opportunity to learn more and more and more and more about certain impurities, you know. Of course, that does not mean that one should stay in a compromised relationship or dysfunctional relationship, because when the relationship is too dysfunctional or compromised, and then both minds, they are greatly disturbed within that relationship, and that disturbed mind is no longer fit for learning the lessons that each and all relationships can offer us, you understand? So there is a fine line there, which one also may say, no, it's better to walk away from this. But there is also the other side that, you know, the other is just a mirror, you know? But if the mind is all the time like that, and then whatsoever left of that mirror is reflecting back to us cannot be really understood and assimilated.
It strikes me too that one approach might be to expand the thinking of relationship beyond a man and a woman being that's the only relationship we're talking about. Are there other types of relationships, of ways to be connected with others besides, you know, the traditional, the standard traditional marriage, if you will, and so that, you know, can you expand it to community? Can you expand it to same gender, to other genders, to, you know, can you maybe it's too much to expect from one person, maybe it's from a collection of people that your relationships are. So I'm just kind of toying with the idea. It's like, do I have to rethink this? It's not just a matter of just having somebody to share a unit or an apartment,
Right.
but expand it.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me again the the vision of Osho Rajneesh was that we should transcend the family unity. You understand? And we should go into small communities in which the relationships, they are not really all tight between husband and wife and children, but you have several relationships, because as David is saying, a relationship, a desire for relationship does not necessarily need to be with one person alone, maybe to have a sangha, for example, a group of people, yeah, with whom we can interact and have our satsangs, our discussions, or walks, our sharings. So this is all part of what we call relationships, and it's totally okay. We are social human beings, and we like to interact with other human beings, and that's what enriches us the most, Yeah.
And the family is a unit that can, is similar to that. I mean, it's a husband and wife, but I mean that you have relationships with your children and the grandchildren and all that. So it all of a sudden becomes bigger than just the patriarch and the matriarch. That the family becomes the unit of community of relationship.
Yep. Totally.
Lindo, I have kind of gotten past a desire for relationship, both individually or socially generally. But what I find is that you have the same problems that you had in those arenas when you're trying to perfect the relationship with the most proximal jiva, the person that you are. Same problems crop up. And
we don't have a relationship. You say that you still have the same problems. Is that what you're telling us?
yeah, because it seems to me it's instead of me thinking, oh, this is a big trap, I've begun thinking this has just been a big mistake. So based on what I know now, I see that there's just this one fundamental error that I made, and if I could just correct that mistake with an understanding, then the relationships, that's why Vairagya, it's sort of like a fruit of that understanding that you just get totally dispassionate about it, instead of, but I think that even when you don't look for those relationships outside, you still have to perfect the one you have with this jiva that's living here. Yeah.
Yeah, very nicely put. Yeah. And relationship, it's based on jiva, which is a sentient object relating to other objects in the field, So a relationship may be even of the meditator or the sage or the or the Swami, we see it's cave. Suppose I go to the Himalayas, I find a little cave there, and then I have a relationship with my cave. So that relationship can become a problem if there is attachment, there is a lack of dispassion, a solid belief that, I need this cave. Without this cave, I'm going to lose my existence. Now, any relationship with any object, our cats, our furniture, and everything, it can be problematic. That's what Lynn is saying, if we really begin, we get wrapped up in the notions that I totally need what I have. I don't have a relationship with other jivas at the moment, but I need my relationships with my car, my cat, my dog, my trees, my house, my furniture, my carpets, and all of that can be a source of mental agitation, and which is going to make it very difficult for us to do this work. So the key is this knowledge of relating to the objects from the standpoint that I need what I need here. I'm done with needing another human being because it's too much trouble. But now I need to relate with so many other things. And that is an equal problem. Yeah. Yes.
Question
Yes,
or
Ruth.
statement. Well, again, going back to bhakti, I think the only relationship that never disappoints is the one with Ishvara. And if you need a personal one, then have a a devata. Because any human relationship is ultimately going to disappoint. As Ramji says, it's a zero-sum game. You get some things, you lose some things. And so there is no perfect relationship. You look for people who will fill a need in you, subconscious or conscious. And, I've turned to prayer or, meditation and unloading myself again to my devata. Because Ishvara has my best interest at heart, always. And that's my thinking.
No, it's totally, and we can go even deeper than that. So if we need to relate, any relationship is based on duality, right? Myself relating to another object. So if we want to really love something that pays good dividends and only good dividends, we relate to Ishvara, which is our stage as Karma Yogis. We relate to Ishvara. Ishvara is going to take care of everything. And when we just dedicate our life, our actions to Ishvara, we understand Ishvara, we devote to Ishvara. So this is great, but yet it bounds us to samsara. This relationship with Ishvara is too bad. And then the ultimate relationship is the non-dual relationship in which you begin relating to the very self as your true nature.
Yeah.
So Jesus,
And we are bound to samsara. I mean, bound is a relative word. We are bound. There's no way out of this dual thing except through the teaching. There is a way. It's through knowledge. And in the meantime, we still have all these other things that will arise in our life in samsara. And the teaching is that they're the same. They're the same.
the teachings are, the last thing I missed, can you repeat the last part?
That Mithya and Satya are the same. It's all consciousness,
Yeah.
And knowledge is what makes the difference.
Yeah. Well, Mithya is Satya, but Satya is not Mithya, so we need to understand that.
No, I realize that, but they are the same. I mean, if you go back to the Mandukya, it's like the world is consciousness.
Because why the world is consciousness? Why? Because the world does not exist. All that really exists is consciousness. If we go to those radical statements of the Mandukya, you understand? The world is almost as good as non-existent. The waves is conscious. The waves is the ocean. Why? Because there is no wave. There is only ocean. You understand?
But the appearance is still consciousness.
The appearance is going to continue because it's just a projection.
That's right.
It's a picture on
That's
the
right.
consciousness. Yeah.
That's right.
But the ultimate relationship is a relationship that does not bring about dependence, because we can develop a good relationship with Ishvara that may cause dependence. So there is a relationship with that which does not bring dependence, but brings independence, because it's the love of the self for itself, as consciousness, awareness, you understand? So this is the ultimate relationship, which is not a relationship, but we may see as a relationship in the beginning, as we still dealing with the self as an object of a love, knowledge, and experience, until it's no longer seen that way,
in samsara. In samsara.
Very nice, Ruth. I think you had this nice haircut. It has made you much smarter now.
It's called the COVID hair.
Yeah. Simple and easy, huh? You want to see the hair of my wife? No? No, my wife is too short.
Long.
No, very short now.
Oh.
She's having the COVID hairstyle as well. Okay. So we meet again next Monday. Om Purnamada
Namada.
Namudachate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you, everyone. See you next time. Much love. And enjoy the COVID times.
Thank you. Yes. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Yeah.